That one is wrong.
Yeah, that's not my,
Yes.
Right onto the side.
Okay.
Your mic on, here we go.
Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Concord Planning Board to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Sure. Vice Chair Foss,
Here.
Counselor Pierce,
here.
Member Hicks,
Here.
Member Rosenberger,
Here.
Member Fox,
Here.
and Member Santa Cruz.
Here.
Okay. The first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes of September 15th meeting.
Move to accept.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, so on our agenda this evening, we have design review applications by consent, and a public hearing on another design review application. We have site plan subdivision and conditional use permit applications for the Amy Rafferty Revocable Trust and Interchange Development, and then a public hearing regarding the Trails Master Plan. So, without further ado, let's take the design review applications by consent. Madam Clerk, would you like to read these into the record?
I can read them into the record. Typically, we just do a motion to accept,
Okay.
approve them all unless someone from the audience wants to speak, and then we remove it from the consent, or if someone on the board wants to remove something from consent.
I move we accept.
Second.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on the sign application on behalf of Citizens Bank or on behalf of Bed Bath and Beyond? Seeing none, I will take a vote since we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. The motion carries. Okay. We now have a design review application from the Granite Group requesting an amendment to a previous ADR approval for construction of a new airlock entry to the north side of the building at 6 Storrs Street within the Opportunity Corridor Performance District. Would you like to read?
Sure. I'll ask Sam to give a short update, and then we can see if anyone's here to speak on behalf of the application. Sam, how did ADR feel about it?
Sure. So the original application was for a barrel-style roof above the airlock. The applicant came back stating that the contractor said that that style of roof would be very time-consuming and expensive, and the applicant wanted to consider either a shed-style roof or a gable roof. They preferred the gable roof, and ADR was fine with that.
Okay. I guess I need to open the public hearing for that. Is there anyone here to present on that application? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on that application? Seeing none, is there anyone on the board that would like to comment on that application? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to accept the gable roof. Is that the one, Sam? That one. Yeah.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. We now have a public hearing on a site plan, subdivision, and conditional use permit applications from RJB Engineering on behalf of Amy S. Rafferty Revocable Trust, requesting conditional use permits to allow disturbance in the shoreline protection district and encroachments in the floodway for the replacement of an existing retaining wall and associated regrading of lawn at 16 Millstream Lane in the medium-density residential district.
Like a staff update, a
Yes.
summary?
Sure. Let me just close my report. So this project is, the applicant is proposing to replace a wall that is in disrepair. So they're going to regrade part of the lawn. They're moving the new retaining wall closer to the house and away from the reference line of it's a canal of the Kentucky River. They are not adding any additional fill or changing the grading, so it's not impacting the floodway. And there's no vegetation removal proposed for this application. This went before the Conservation Commission last week, and they recommended approval as submitted.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of this application? Come forward. Is there a board there?
Is there a sign sheet?
You can sit down and tell us your name.
I know who it is.
Can you hear me? Yeah. My name is Kevin. I'm representing Amy. So we are removing all retaining wall, and we are building a new retaining wall that's away from the reference line. And we have a site plan. We are not bringing any new fill to the site. We're using the fill that's already in the site to do really like a minor grading. And apart from that, we are not removing any trees, any vegetations from. So it's a very it's actually helping the client to build this retaining wall.
So will the materials that are in the existing wall be used for reconstruction of the wall, or
No, ma'am.
removed, or
But it's mostly the old retaining wall is consist of boulders. So we are removing the boulders and we are installing wall blocks that's recommended by the engineer. There is a plan for that. I don't know.
There's some photographs.
yeah.
It was set up.
Can I get your last name while we're waiting for the?
I got it.
We're gonna bring a sign sheet over.
Oh, okay, sure.
Sorry, this is a very difficult.
While they're doing this, I have a question.
Yes.
The boulders that you remove,
Yes.
you're going to remove them, put in the block wall. What are you going to do with the boulders that are there? Are they going to be used as fill, or?
No, we are removing the most of the boulders from the site, and we are bringing it to the dump. But for the fill, we are using the fill to do the minor grading in front of the wall. But we are not doing any major excavation, nothing like that. Just we are removing the old wall. That's what we are doing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board?
So yeah. So this would be the new wall that we are building. So it's 100 feet long. The max height would be 5 feet. And apart from that, if you go down right here, this would be the structure of the wall. And we're installing geogrid to stabilize the soil. That way the soil won't move and the wall would last a long period. Yeah, so. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any questions for me?
Pretty straightforward.
We don't have any questions. I need to ask the audience, and if you could sign in on that sheet, that would be awesome.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, great. Is there anyone from the audience who would like to speak on this application? Seeing none, I will request a motion. Oh,
You can have this.
you may return to your seat.
Okay.
And I will close the public hearing. And now I will ask for a motion.
I will move approval as submitted.
Second. Second.
Great, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Okay, now we have a request from Interchange Development LLC for an amendment to a previously approved major site plan to allow for the issuance of one certificate of occupancy for the mixed-use development prior to the completion of off-site improvements at 1 Whitney Road in the Gateway Performance District. Beth, do you have a staff update?
Sure. So this is the major development up at Exit 17. Part of their development is the roundabout at Hoyt Road, Route 4, and Whitney Road, which the city is undertaking. Due to a very lengthy state permitting process, which took longer than anticipated, the roundabout construction has now been pushed off till spring of 2020. So when this originally came before the board, it was anticipated that that work would have started this summer and the city's roundabout would be completed by December. However, that's not happening, but the liquor store is still on the trajectory to be open in their original timeline, December or January. So the applicant is seeking relief from the condition that requires the roundabout be completed prior to any COs. They submitted an updated traffic summary that we submitted to DOT for their approval, that they would amend the city's driveway permit to allow the CO to be issued with the traffic volumes anticipated for the liquor store. So staff is recommending this approval of the amendment. However, we have several conditions for work that should be completed and financial sureties that we'll need to receive before the CO can be issued.
And have our traffic people
Yes.
looked at this and everyone's comfortable with it? Because that would be my major concern.
Yes, so we reviewed the traffic memo. It went to our transportation engineer. It was reviewed internally, and we submitted the report to DOT to amend this. It's the city's driveway permit that has to get amended to allow this.
Thank you. Any questions of staff?
That's my question. I have a comment. I mean, I looked at the traffic too. I was kind of surprised that given how many liquor stores have been open recently in the state that they didn't actually consider counting one and getting real trip generation of a facility rather than using an ITE. Honestly, I'm a little concerned. I think it's going to be higher than what they're estimating. But I believe, you know, as they've stated, that even with a little bit of higher trip generation, it's still going to be reasonable. My only concern is if for some reason the roundabout construction gets delayed and one of the other stores wants to open, are we going to be back here in June asking for another amendment? And at that point, I think the trip generation is going to be high enough that it would be of a concern.
Yeah, so DOT has said they will not, any additional COs, they will not be allowing. There's certain requirements that they have. So I know that our engineers and the developer have met with the future tenants, and I think they're all aware of construction delays and potential concerns with that as well. But I don't think it would be possible for them to request that CO because the next tenant has a significant amount of traffic impact, and it will never be able to be open. So
Yeah, I just want to make sure so we're not back here, like I said, in a few months.
Having set a precedent.
Exactly. And so, I mean, I'm fine. I mean, I've looked at the traffic number. Like I said, I was a little surprised they didn't provide more local data, but I think even if the data comes out a little higher than what they say it is, we'll still be reasonable levels of service.
Okay. Any other questions of staff? Would the Rousios care to come forward? Oh, and I will now open the public hearing.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Laurie Rossio, representing Interchange Development.
And I'm David Rossio.
And we just really wanted to be here to answer any questions that you may have. We didn't really have a presentation other than what was in the staff report. So, oh, I'm sorry. I do want to make one clarification. So when Beth was talking about the roundabout being open, I think she meant to say 2022.
22.
Oh, what did I say?
2020.
Oh,
That's okay.
I'm still in 2019.
That's okay. And then just to clarify, the small roundabout, the one that is at the entrance to Merchants Way along Whitney Road, that one is under construction, as you may or may not know right now, and expected to be open in terms of being operational by the end of this year. So.
And they've started clearing on Hoyt Road.
Yes, they are. Yes. So they'll be doing everything they can to work outside of the pavement along Route 4 so that in the spring they can get going right away and get that roundabout done, hopefully before Market Basket really wants to open, because they do want to open very soon. So.
Great. Any questions? Yes, Earl.
If I may, not particularly about this, I'm supportive of this, but is your timetable, are you on time? I mean, with all the delays that we hear about, I mean, are you on schedule to open where, finish the project?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we are. There's been some issues with water pipe in particular, and that's caused the the site contractor to sort of skip around and not do things in the normal order. But as far as I know, we are on schedule for everything that we had planned to do. We've had to put off some of the buildings because of the roundabout, like, for example, Wendy's. You gave approval to Wendy's.
Right.
They recognized the issue with the roundabout and decided to hold off till spring for their building. So.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? The applicants? Okay. If you could sign in on the sheet if you haven't already. Is there anyone from the audience who would like to comment on this application? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and request a motion.
Thank you.
Wait, how many motions do we need to do here?
There's a waiver request, and then the recommendation to amend the conditions with subsequent, with conditions.
Okay. Let's see if I can get this up here. Come on, open. That's not the right one.
It's 6-0.
I think this right, the ball is in the city's court right now in terms of getting the roundabout up to speed.
Let's go here.
What's going on with the city? Because I'll be having just trouble with it. Oh, okay.
Too long to know.
Here we go. Okay,
So on a waiver recommendation,
so
main motion?
let's just read that into the record. So we have a staff recommendation to grant the waiver to section 7.08 parentheses 7 of the site plan regulations to allow for the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the New Hampshire Liquor and Wine Outlet prior to the completion of public and private off-site improvements, subject to the conditions stated under recommendation 4.2 parentheses 1 through parentheses 3.
I move that we accept the recommendation.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. We also have a staff recommendation to amend the conditions of the major site plan approval authorizing the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy for 11 Merchants Way, New Hampshire Liquor and Wine Outlet, prior to the completion of off-site improvements, subject to the conditions below, with the caveat that no other COs within this development shall be issued until all site improvements in the originally improved site plan are constructed. The improvements to be completed to the satisfaction of the Engineering Division and City Fire Department. Water mains on Interchange Drive and Merchants Way shall either be fully installed, tested, and operational, or a New Hampshire fire protection engineer shall certify through a stamped letter that the single water main feeding along Merchants Way meets the fire flow requirements for the sprinkler system and will provide sufficient flow to all proposed hydrants along Merchants Way. The Concord Fire Department must agree with the fire protection engineer's conclusions. B, base pavement of the entirety of Interchange Drive or confirmation from the Concord Fire Department that emergency access to the site is sufficient, and any additional items that the city planner, city engineer, and city fire marshal determine at the time of inspection are required for safe use of and access to the site. There also needs to be a financial guarantee in accordance with section 36.18 parentheses 3 for the remaining deferred work. I'm not going to read the entirety of that provision.
Thank you.
Provision of an interim as-built plan to the satisfaction of the Engineering Division, and compliance with any other local, state, or federal permits or regulations for occupancy. May I have a motion?
I will move. I'll second his.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Okay.
All right, let's talk about
And that brings us to a public hearing to consider and receive public comments relative to adoption of a trail master plan. Beth, are you on tap for this?
I'm sure. So Craig Tufts from Central New Hampshire
Okay.
Regional Planning Commission is here. He'll sort of introduce. Yeah, come on up, Craig. This did go before the Conservation Commission last week, and they recommended approval of the document as presented to you tonight.
Great.
So I'll just give a really brief background of what we have here, and then we can get into it. So this started back in 2019. Heather and Beth approached me saying, you know, we have tons of trails, there's a lot of moving parts. Would be great to have a trails plan, you know, where we have, you know, a vision and some more guidance on what we have going on here and, you know, what level of resources we need. So I went back to my office. I work at Central New Hampshire Regional Planning, and we were able to, you know, put together funds to put together this plan at no cost to the city. You know, the city's a dues-paying member of the Planning Commission. And so we got started. We put together I don't know what we called it, a work group. So it had people from, Matt from this board was on there, as well as there were people from the Trails Committee and Conservation Commission, and they kind of helped steer the whole process. Beth, of course, has been, like, I call her like 3 times a day with questions during the middle of it. Early on in the plan, we had a public forum. It was in this room. There were about 70 people here, 75 people. It was packed. It was great. People from the Trails Committee and Conservation Commission were helping to facilitate. And so that was one of the times where we got most of the input that came into this plan. We also put out a survey that over 500 people took. So we got a lot of really good information from that. And so that public input is really the basis for everything that we see in the plan. And, you know, outside of that, you know, talking to staff, talking to the boards and people in town, we sort of crafted the policies and recommendations based off of all of that. So like Beth said, the Conservation Commission, what is the language? They recommended it for approval. I know that, Jeffrey, you had some comments, and I think we were going to go through those. I'm not sure exactly how we want to do it, but I'm here at your disposal tonight.
Just to interject, I had given those to Beth, and if the two of you can work them out, I'm fine with that. Most of them were pretty minor.
Nothing that changes the substance.
Right, exactly. It was more of just some questions and clarifications, so fine.
Yeah, so I kind of agree, nothing was really groundbreaking. I can just work with Brett and whatever we think might need to be changed. A lot of it was grammatical, so thank you for spotting some of those things.
No problem.
I will say that one of the, so this started pre-pandemic, so it took a little bit longer than we anticipated, but one of the recommendations that we were hoping would come out of it, and which did come out of it, was to get a trail ranger. And we actually did get that. Ranger Mel, waving. She started 2 weeks ago, so
Super.
we're already ahead of the Trail Master Plan, ahead of our achieving some of our goals. Our goal is to have her, she's part-time right now, eventually get a full-time trail ranger once council sees how beneficial she is to helping the trails. She's going to be working on education and outreach and really trying to get a better experience for everybody out on the trails and protect our natural resources. So I think it was a great recommendation that came out of the plan. So we'll see how it goes, but so far I think it's going to be great.
Now, I remember the day where I had this epiphany, like, wow, this is something really huge we have, like it's a major park system almost, and like, yeah, and I remember calling Heather and calling Beth up and saying, I think this should be a recommendation. And there it is. So that's awesome that she's here. I can't wait to meet her. But yeah, I should have said earlier that, one of the findings in this plan is, we have a great thing here. This is really special, the amount of trails that we have. And, just the people that I've talked to, they're so excited and so thrilled that we have it. It's really a great resource. And it was really fun to put this together, so.
Good. Anyone have questions?
I don't have any questions, but I have a couple comments about the process. I think that, Craig, Beth, and everybody, the Planning Commission need to be commended for the work they did on this. This is a lot of work, right? And this is starting from scratch. And I agree, this is, the trails in Concord are invaluable to our community, and to have something like this that helps guide that is also going to be invaluable. I know I have 10 eager middle schoolers that are ready to go explore as many trails as they can, so maybe our trail marshal will come talk to me later about talking to those middle schoolers. So there's a lot of excitement in town. There's a lot of people using the trails. And I know that, Craig, we had talked about safety in those trails and things like that, so I think that's something to keep an eye on with people living in the woods and things like that. So great work. It's excellent.
Just a quick question. Am I to gather that this is a merger of several trail systems that have existed for a period of time already, and you're just merging these all together under one guideline, or?
Yeah. I don't know if Beth could answer this better, but essentially there are trails that the Conservation Commission oversees because they're on city property. And that's the primary purpose of this plan, how those are managed and overseen and what happens there. But it's also a bigger picture than that, so it looks at trails that aren't necessarily city trails, and it'll, like the Audubon trails, for example, because, people use them, people don't really know if they're on, it doesn't matter to them, to the user, exactly whose property they're on. And we also talk about, something like the Merrimack River Greenway Trail, Concord Lake Sunapee Rail Trail, which is not your traditional Trails Committee trail, but it's still functions as a big system. And so this plan kind of looks comprehensively at all the trails in Concord, how they all fit together.
Good.
So just to add to that, so one of the goals is, so we've identified future connections, not necessarily specifically for properties, but general areas of trail systems that we want to connect. And hopefully, sort of how right now in the site plan regs, when there's a sidewalk proposed within the sidewalk master plan, the planning board can say, build this sidewalk. So now, hopefully with this document, when a project comes before us and there's an opportunity to put a trail connection there, the planning board has this document that says, here, build this trail as part of your development, and that helps us start to build those connections.
Does the proposed, well, I'm not even sure of its status right now, but the river walk coming up through and connecting, is that part of the vision? The
Merrimack River Greenway Trail?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we talk about that as a regional connection, as an important connection that we want to make within the city.
Okay.
So, yes.
That would be a good thing.
Yep, so it's from there to even smaller neighborhood connections.
Yep.
So everybody, the goal is to get everybody in the city have access to trails, whether it's through sidewalks, through a regional trail.
Okay.
So, Beth, to follow up on that a little bit, so somebody looking at this, Trails Master Plan and looking at potential connectors should not assume that these are necessarily going to go in without their input.
Exactly,
Right?
yes.
So it's
Yeah,
not
we-
all of a sudden they're going to wake up and have a trail in their backyard.
Right, yep. The goal is just, we tried to show it as diagrammatically as possible, just to say, this is the general area where we want to connect. We have these two existing trails here. Here's this yellow line, that's this general area. We want to try to find a way, but under no way are we taking any land. It just gives us some opportunities to maybe explore having these trails in somewhere in that area.
Now, that certainly doesn't prevent a property owner from coming forward and saying, yeah, I would love to give you land and allow you to do it.
That would be amazing.
Or deny you access, because we have that problem.
Yep, yes, yes, we do. So just, we did receive one comment from the public who brought up the Merrimack River Greenway Trail, the issue of the rail width trail. I think some of you have seen letters to the editor, and the scenic rail writers have brought up that they're hoping the city explores that option for that portion of the Merrimack River Greenway Trail. That's not something in detail that we wanted to cover in this document. That's more design specific. That will be covered in the feasibility of constructing that section. So just staff level, we decided that this is not the appropriate document to cover that, while it is something that the city will consider looking at moving forward with that trail. So I just wanted to get that out there in case that gentleman is listening in, that we did receive that comment, but that's not necessarily the level of detail that we're going to in this document.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay. Thank you, Craig. Are there any comments or questions from the audience? Fine, come forward, please. And I will open the public hearing. For the record.
Good evening, folks. My name is Michael Bro. And you, sir, hit the nail right on the head. So I am a property owner that one of the trails proposed to go through. So I own property that the Concord Green Trail, basically the Concord Claremont Railroad, that bed. All right, so my property goes from Prospect Street all the way down to the shoreline of Horseshoe Pond. Okay, if I could pull up MapQuest, I could, whatever. So, but basically, looking at the proposed site plan, that trail would literally cut through my yard. And again, it would open up for the gateway of people less fortunate right now. There are a lot of people sleeping in the woods, and this would pretty much make a super highway right through my yard. So I did bring some documents. I do have a copy of my deed that states that I own to the shoreline. I got a copy of the tax map showing that I own to the shoreline. Just to, again, reiterate that this would go right through my yard.
Do you mind if I ask what your address is?
Yep, 16 Prospect Street. If you look at the GIS map, the tax map, the property shows that the city owns it. I've been doing some research. There was a gentleman that had a tax issue back in 1995, and the way the warrant or deed states is that basically a tract of land was given to the city, and when the city did that, the tax map was corrected to show that my property doesn't exist to the shoreline anymore. So my big point here is the trail doesn't abut my land, it goes through my land.
Heather?
So I just want to clarify for you what the document actually is.
Yep, please do.
It's not a site plan.
Yep.
It's not a proposed trail. There's no actual trails proposed in the document or any site plan proposals in the document.
Okay.
So all it is concepts for a vision for connecting a network. So if any one of these trails, or if any one of these locations was actually to be pursued or considered for a trail, a whole entire process would have to be gone through. So that process would involve talking to the landowners. I mean, no landowners at all were, as far as I know, other than the big landowners like the state, we didn't contact any landowners at all to say, hey, we're going to put a trail here, because we're not. That's not what it's proposing to do.
Right, so I was here in June, and I was in front of the mayor. We had a big discussion of the rail trails. They were procuring funds for the trail.
That's a different, I'm sorry, can I let Beth explain? That's a different scenario. That's not this.
But I feel it all ties together. It truly does, and that is why I am here. I understand the mayor and the procuring of funds to try to get, the big trail and then the Concord Claremont Trail. They procured the funds. They're going to have another meeting. I just wanted to take this opportunity to go in front of another board to just state what I have concerns over.
Yeah, so this is, just to clarify for the board, this is a portion that's part of the Pan Am piece that the city is under a purchase and sales agreement with Pan Am to purchase. So I know the city's going through due diligence right now. We have not purchased that property yet. And I know I have Matt Walsh from the city, I think, has been looking into your property as well, just trying to figure out all of these items. So that would be potentially the extension of the Concord Lake Sunapee Rail Trail. The biggest hurdle with that, with property ownership issues, as well as the giant gully that was created by the Mother's Day
05.
flood of '05, where you'd have to build probably a 50 to 100 foot long bridge spanning that gully to get north of there.
It blew out the railroad tracks. It's quite a thing to look at. When you
Yeah, it's like a chasm. It's crazy. So, yes, so if that did go forward, property ownership would be the first thing that would be looked at. But then the environmental considerations of building that bridge and the feasibility of building a trail through that section would be looked at. But that's not a specific recommendation in this. So the recommendation in here is to continue looking at options for extending regional trails, which includes that Concord Lake Sunapee Rail Trail.
Would that stretch also involve traversing prison property?
It would.
Yep.
Yeah,
Would.
so I mean, that would be another
Yeah.
consideration for that stretch.
There are very many issues
Yeah,
with that
sounds-
whole situation.
Again,
Sounds
just being able to come here and sit in front of another group of people to state my case and just make sure that I'm being heard, that it's not just the same group of people.
Thank you.
If I may, the council is very aware of your situation and the situation of others, and we are working on it.
Okay.
There are a lot of things with titles to the property and all that, the due diligence and so on and so forth, so
And
you'll
when
have a
is-
chance.
Okay, and when is the follow-up meeting for that, to review the due diligence? Because, again, trying to find meetings about this topic is terrifying to try to find on you guys' site. I have to look really, really hard. So, I mean, is there a public place that I can look and just say, all right, you guys are meeting to go over this scenario on this date at this time?
Other than the council agenda, much the same as the agenda for this, I don't know where it is in the process.
Okay,
The council has a lot of things in the air right now, so.
so
but
no
that's the-
concrete date? Because again, that is one that I would like to.
I don't know of one.
I think it's okay to refer to Matt. Yeah, so Matt Walsh in the city manager's office
Yep.
is kind of leading this up. So I would recommend that you reach out to him because he's going to be the one that's going to have his finger on when next meetings are going to be.
Okay.
I think December, they're trying to wrap up all the due diligence stuff. I don't know what date or anything.
Okay.
But I would reach out to Matt Walsh.
I know that they've been down on the main trail doing the surveying. I live obviously right there, so I can see what's going on. I don't see the surveying tape going through my backyard yet, so I know that the due diligence hasn't brought them that far.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
okay.
Great.
All right, again, folks,
Thank
thank you
you.
for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Did you sign in on the
I did.
sheet? Great,
I did.
thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to comment on the trails plan? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
So we are making a motion to accept the draft plan,
Adopt this as the
Adopt.
final plan.
adopt the final plan.
This is the final draft, yeah.
I will make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, and at this time, before we adjourn, it is my pleasure to invite Mike from Concord Community TV to come forward and present an award.
Hi there, everybody. It's very nice to actually present to you rather than being back there with Steve, who handles everything
actually
quite
see
Behind the
nicely.
screen, we get to
Yes.
see you.
Anyway,
I see you left the view very wide angle.
yes, I'm hoping Steve keeps it that way. That would be great.
Behind the curtain.
If Oz comes
Yep.
forward.
Well, it seems most of you know me, but I'm Mike O'Mara, and I work at Concord TV, and one of my primary roles at Concord TV is as the city liaison. So that means that I help make sure meetings like this go on, but I also work very closely with a lot of members of the city staff in order to make sure a lot of the initiatives that your board finds important, the city council finds important, that, important city staff finds important, that those sorts of things get out there in the community and we make sure people know about them. And there's just a lot of talk about trails right now, and it's really great to see the way that trail network has kind of developed. And with that's kind of a good kind of segue into this, that every year Concord TV gives out a variety of awards, and one of them is our Government Partner Award. And it is my pleasure to say that Beth Fenstermacher is our Government Partner Award winner for this year. Beth has been a fantastic partner to Concord TV ever since I've been there, ever since she joined the city of Concord. We've done an awful lot of work to get the word out there about trails in the city of Concord, and I think there's no doubt that some of the effort that she's put in getting the word out about trails is why there were 70 people in this room a year and a half ago putting in a lot of feedback about the trail system and what people want to see out of that. She's been a partner in many, many different things, getting members of the Conservation Commission to help out with some videos and get words out on stuff that's going on, letting people know what are some of the priorities for you all. And she's been an excellent partner to us. So that's why it is my pleasure to make sure that Beth is awarded with our Government Partner Award. So
All right.
I will bring this over to Beth. Beth?
There we go.
So Beth, thank you very much. And thank you all very much for everything that you do. We really appreciate it. And of course, if ever you've got something that you need to get the word out, I assume once some more of the new code is coming out, we'll probably be doing a lot of stuff about that.
Contacting you shortly.
Sounds good. All right, well, thank you all very much.
Thank you. Take care.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Well done.
It all started with Northern Pass. That was my first movie with the city.
Any other business?
Do you want to,
Yeah.
at this point? Yeah, Beth would
Funny
like to
so.
give an update
Yeah.
on the Sandwood Crossing roundabout, where we're at with that, conversations with Reggie.
Great.
So last month, 2 months ago, Reggie Moreau came before you all regarding the roundabout at Emily Way and, no, Kyle and Alice.
Emily and Kyle and Amy and
One of,
Kai.
yes.
Yeah.
The
Brady
four
Alice.
roundabouts in that neighborhood. So the recommendation was to receive the monies that he had put aside for it and do some landscaping. There was some confusion after the meeting about what was expected for the landscaping. So Reggie's concern was they were going to spend this money, put the landscaping in, and then potentially tear it all out next year if they're going to be rebuilding the roundabout. So he gave us the money. we are hiring a consultant to do the concept design. That should hopefully be done over the winter time, and at that time, we'll have a better idea of what the future roundabout is going to be. And if it seems feasible to do the landscaping in the spring to achieve that goal, then we'll do it in the spring, but we'll have that money for the landscaping. So if anybody's wondering why landscaping did not go in this fall, it's just to figure out what's actually going to be happening in that roundabout. So it may happen in the spring, or it may happen when they do the roundabout improvements at that time.
And the money is where, excuse me?
It's in an escrow account with the city.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. So I just wanted to let you all know, just in case any questions came up about
Great.
that.
Thank you. Any other business for the board?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
The Red Sox are behind 7-1.
I've got to get home to the game.
Well, at least they got one so far. That's a start. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you all.
What a good meeting.